You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. This is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. When the shrill lady sings it, that makes it official. The Chris Voss Show is now live on broadcasting from the Chris Voss Show studios, wherever the hell we are. I don't know. I think we're in a bunker in Maine at this point. I don't know why I picked Maine. It just came right off the top of my thing. But it makes no sense, which probably makes sense in some way or shape or form. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing show on the day on today. We're going to be talking with someone who's going to be bringing their company to CES, Eureka Park. We're going to be doing a lot of CES interviews of CES boothies at the CES show. So stay tuned for that. We do it every year for the last billion years. We'll even have the CES Gary Shapiro, CEO, CES CEO, CTA on the show. There's a lot of C's going on with this whole operation. So there you go. But we're going to move down to the T's. We have Tom Stevens of Tombot, who's going to be on the show with us today. He will be displaying at the big CES show in Las Vegas in 2025. And we're going to be talking about his thing and what he does and all this cool thing about a robotic Labrador retriever puppy named Jenny. So there you go. The company name is Tombot Incorporated. It's a Santa Clarita, California-based robotic animal and digital health solutions company. The first product is the robotic Labrador we mentioned for earlier, and it was designed as a companion for the 300-plus million seniors worldwide suffering from dementia and mild cognitive impairment, probably me too as well as adults and children dealing with mental health challenges such as stress, anxiety, loneliness, autism, and PTSD. It's exceptionally lifelike, it really is. So we've been sitting in the green room playing, and fully autonomous. Jenny flawlessly mimics the sounds, movements, and interpersonal interactions of a live puppy. It hasn't peed on me yet, but we'll ask if it does that. Puppies, you gotta love them. With 7,000 pre-orders scheduled for 2025 delivery, Tombot will unveil its next generation of robotic companions at CES 2025, complete with remote safety and patient health monitoring platforms. Jenny will ultimately receive FDA approval as a certified medical device. Welcome to the show, Tom. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Chris. Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. And Tom, what's your official title there at Tombot?
I am CEO and co-founder of Tombot.
There you go. I kind of figured since it's your name's in the title there. So give us any .coms. Where do you want people to get to know you better on the interwebs, please?
Sure. So our main website is tombot.com, TOMBOT.com. Through that website, you can find all of our links to our social media handles. So we have lots of videos on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and you can hear and see Jenny there as well.
Jenny's getting riled up. She's on the show. She wants in on the action. So you're also going to be in Venetian Hall G down in Eureka Park, the booth 62034. If you're at the CES show, give them a shout out, walk by, and say hello. Check out Jenny. Because Jenny wants to get on the show now. So, Tom, give us a 30,000 overview of what Jenny is about. Tom? Whoa. We locked up Tom. Tom, you there?
I'm here. I lost you for a moment, Chris.
Well, the internet god's kind of against us there. But, Tom, give us a 30,000 overview of what you guys do there at Tombot.
Sure. So my background is I've been in the high-tech industry for the last 30 plus years. My two Tombot co-founders and I built a prior startup into one of the world's largest litigation automation companies. Mm-hmm. We were successfully acquired, which gave me the freedom to think about other things. Unfortunately, that same year, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, And of
Oh,
the many decisions I had to make on her behalf, by far the worst was realizing I had to take away her dog for safety reasons.
oh no.
She was really unhappy with me. I looked around for substitutes for live animal companions. She hated everything that I brought home. Uh, and so it was at that time I realized that there's a very large gap in the market that launched me on what became a multi-year research and education journey, culminating in a master's degree from Stanford University.
Hmm.
And along the way, I learned that my mom's story is shared by over 300 million
Wow.
seniors with dementia or
Hmm.
pre-dementia mild cognitive impairment, and quite literally half the planet, about 1 billion out of the 2 billion households. Uh, and we launched Tombot to be in service to those people.
There you go. I think we dropped down a little bit again on the sound there.
Oh,
Um,
sorry
so
about that.
no
Hopefully.
problem. So we found it's a basically you guys have created probably the most lifelike dog I've ever seen in a robotic autonomous animal, and it. I mean, I've been watching it here in the show in the green room. We've been talking about it. If you watch this on YouTube, I know most people consume the podcast in audio, but if you go to YouTube, you can see the dog, and it really looks like a real dog, and it behaves like a real dog on its own. It's like head moves, and it does a lot of the mimicking that a normal dog would do, the tail wagging, and like it's kind of fooled my brain a couple times where I'm like, wait, is that a real dog or is that a fake dog? There you go.
Well,
So,
it turns out that it was a very important thing. So our first puppy, as you mentioned, will be an FDA medical device. She's actually designed to treat the behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia and reduce the need for certain medications, including psychotropic medications.
hmm,
Um, but the reason why these products work in the first place is they stimulate emotional attachment, and we're fortunate in that we're standing on over 40 years of peer-reviewed studies that show that where a senior with dementia can form a
hmm,
robust emotional attachment to an object, traditionally that's been a human baby doll or a stuffed animal,
hmm,
that senior gets a great deal of relief from those behavioral and psychological symptoms and a corresponding reduction in need for the psychotropics. The problem is very few seniors, including my mother, care for the traditional objects. Um, research, yeah, you'll get a chance to talk. Research on robotic animals show they significantly outperform the
uh-huh.
traditional objects and have the added benefit of reducing pain and the need for pain medications. The
Wow.
problem there, however, is existing technologies are either simple mechanical toys, which frequently lose their attachment after the novelty effect is worn off,
Uh-huh.
or on the other end of the spectrum are prohibitively expensive robots. This whole space was invented in the early 2000s by a Japanese research institute. They created a robotic seal by the name of Paro, Paro, and it's
Hmm.
a good robot, but it costs over
Wow.
$6,000. Most senior care facilities can't afford one, let alone individuals like my mother who
Hmm.
need one for themselves in order to form that emotional bond.
Yeah.
We conducted multiple rounds of customer studies with over 700 seniors with dementia. And of the many things that we learned through that, the biggest takeaways were around realism.
Hmm.
Realism, first of all, in objects of which they're already familiar. So
Hmm.
puppies, kittens, as opposed to wild animals or fictitious creatures. And then, secondly, the more realistic, the better in terms of appearance, texture, and behaviors. We teamed up with Jim Henson's Creature Shop to do
Oh.
all of our artistic design. And with their help, we're building what we believe to be are the world's most realistic robotic animals, scientifically designed to stimulate emotional attachment. And then, once in place, we become a unique platform for monitoring those seniors for safety and health.
So you can see how they're doing and stuff. Can you see through the eyes at all by yet,
So,
or is that maybe a future?
future. For our
Hmm.
first product, a senior with dementia, by definition, is fully disabled. And
Hmm.
so that person needs a caretaker. Typically, it's an unpaid family member to make
Hmm.
sure that they're safe and healthy.
Hmm.
And so we didn't need it for that. We will have that in future models for someone who's living independently. still. And like mom lives on the next county over, and I don't get to see her as
Yeah.
much as I'd like to, and I'm starting to worry more about her.
Mhm.
So a little more safety monitoring there. But our first model is designed to monitor for sundowning syndrome, which is one of the most common set of symptoms associated with
Wow.
dementia.
So you have interactive sensors built into it that are touch sensors all over the body. So
Yep.
it will react to you. You know, you normally pet your dog and stuff. Voice commands. It's got voice activation software. Real puppy sounds from a 12-year-old Labrador. It really does. Like it fools me, and it's sitting there, and I know it's fake, but it's. I mean, it's doing little barks, and it does software updates. It's connected to an app, and it's rechargeable. You know, I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was like, you know, people live longer if they have a pet. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you got something to take care of. Maybe it's the unconditional love. Maybe it's, you know, I mean, just it seems like when we take care of something in the universe goes, okay, well, they're working on something for us. You know, it seems like when you don't have any use left, you're not doing anything. They're like, yeah, let's move them along. And I think that's true. And a lot of people, you know, they don't find something to do after they retire. They tend to die very quickly. But if they find a purpose, then they do it. My sister has MS. She's in a care center, and but she can't have a dog in a care center. And so this would be perfect for her. She's not fully there. She may actually think it's a real dog. I know my mom. You know, she's older, and she's fine cognitively, but you know, I mean, she doesn't really have a companion. You know, she's got her kids, but we're busy doing things sometimes. And so, you know, I was suggesting the other day, I said you should get a pet, but you know, she's got asthma and a little bit of allergies, and so maybe a pet isn't the best thing for her. And of course, clean up and you know all the things you got to deal with pets sometimes. You know, but you know, just kind of having that whole. I think if you have that mnemonic or whatever sort of attachment to where you're used to dogs, it just plays on that sort of thing. Does that sound about right?
I think you're absolutely right. Human beings have been selectively breeding dogs for thousands of years to imitate the traits in human babies that cause us to want to take care of babies. And
Yeah.
so dogs are actually manipulating us the same way that human babies are manipulating us and causing to care for them. And
Oh.
and in the process, it's stimulating positive changes in our brain's neurochemistry. And while it's a complex cocktail of neurochemicals, what's thought to be hardest at work is oxytocin.
Hmm.
Uh, Oxytocin, sometimes referred to as the love drug, is known to reduce stress, reduce anxiety. It's fundamental to emotional bond formation, and it's a highly effective pain reliever. So it actually makes us feel really good. Oxytocin is seen in mothers right after they give birth to a baby. They get a massive dose of oxytocin, help them forget about that terrible pain that they just went
Yeah.
through, and focus all their attention on that very needy baby. Well, dogs are stimulating the same neural pathways. Specifically, puppies
Mhm.
are stimulating the same neural pathways, and in doing so, make us feel really good. But I think, Chris, what you were talking about is giving us a purpose.
Yeah.
That is also instrumental in improving quality of life and potentially even extending quality of
Yeah.
life.
That dog is like so amazing. I mean, its head movements. I mean, I've had four Siberian Huskies now, and then as a child, I think we had a couple puppies. Um, I mean, it's so lifelike in its movement, in its head, and how it looks around. It moves its ears, it moves its tail. Like it's freaking me out, man. Because I'm just like, my brain goes, "That's a real dog," and you know, there it is turning its head one way to the other, and it still has the active. It's got the bark, and once I hear that baby puppy bark, you know, my brain goes, "Take care of the dog. We'll find out what's going on." You know, there's something about a puppy that I like how it turns its head. You know how dogs do when they're trying to listen to you and figure out what you're talking to.
Yeah.
But I can see how this can really help somebody, especially in dementia. You know, they may not even be aware it's not a real dog, maybe, but you know it really picks up a lot of those sort of reactionary things like you talked about, where you know I immediately go, oh, that's a real dog. I need to pet it, and all that good stuff.
And it's an excellent point. We learned in our studies once again, and she's better than we originally thought she was going to have to be.
Yeah.
But to consistently stimulate and re-stimulate that emotional attachment, it has to be engaging enough to motivate them to do it. And
Yeah.
they need to want to care for the robot. They have to care about its well-being, keep it company, give it love, have it love them back. And through that engagement, continually re-stimulating our neural pathways. Yeah.
She agrees. She agrees.
She wants attention. She doesn't like it when I ignore her. But one of the keys to this, and it goes to your point about maybe they might know or maybe might not know that it's a real dog. We were concerned about that early in our studies for ethical reasons, because we didn't want to say, okay, here's this real puppy, take care of this real puppy. Rather, we wanted to introduce the puppy as a robot and see how they reacted to it. And human beings are highly empathetic creatures. We like to immerse. If you can imagine the last movie or perhaps something on television where you were either particularly happy or sad or maybe even a little scared or startled, you weren't really there, but you chose to immerse in that, and we like doing that. That's something that's very natural for us. And the same thing with the puppy. We like to suspend disbelief. Even though we know that it's a robot, we like to pretend that it's real. And it turns out that seniors with dementia, unless they're very late stage, also know that it's a robot and prefer that it's a robot.
Yeah.
Peak animal or peak pet ownership rates are in our 50s and then decline by about 50% per decade after that. Once again, for reasons of burden of care, health adversity, cost, and so forth. Sometimes people lose a pet and don't want to replace that pet because they don't want to grieve for the loss of another family member.
Yeah.
So they actually know that it's a robot and they prefer that it's a robot in most cases. But they still want to suspend disbelief. And one of the critical factors for us was being able to design behaviors that are, first of all, very lifelike, but also non-repetitive. With many of the mechanical objects out there, within about 60 seconds, you've seen 100% of what they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Part of our IP is that we have the potential for unlimited categories of behaviors and unlimited behaviors within a given category. So even though there's always a finite number of them that's on the robot, they'll never perceive repetition. And through software updates, we'll continue to expand and improve on the performance of the robot.
Will you eat a shoe every now and then and pee on my floor? I mean, that's real. That's about as realistic as I can get with my husband.
One of our early studies, an elderly gentleman said, "Well, does it poop batteries?" Doesn't poop batteries, but it does run on batteries.
That would be kind of funny, you got to replace them because like it shoots out the ones that are used. I think my Elon Musk car does that. My Cybertruck. I don't know. Yeah, it's a horrible truck. You're right, Jenny. But you mentioned one thing. I remember years ago I did a real estate sale of a home for an elderly couple. Which is funny because I'm the elderly one now. But back then I was young, and they I think their cat had just died or something. And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. You're probably going to get another one. They're like, no, that's it. We've had I think they said they had 10 animals over their lifetime in their marriage. And they're like, Chris, we're just so over the pain and the grieving. And so, well, I can't imagine my life without my dogs. I mean, I used to, my one dog used to sleep with me all the time. She always sleep up next to my back, and she's a big husky, so she keep me warm. She cuddle with me. She was my cuddler, and when I would travel in hotels and do shows like CS show and other places South by Southwest, I'd have trouble sleeping at night because I didn't have her cuddling with me, and I didn't have my dogs around me. I was just so used to I'm alone. This is weird. And so I can't imagine my life without dogs. But there may come a time, like I mentioned, my sister's in a care center. There's no way you could have animals in there. But having the comfort of an animal, and I mean, every time that your dog makes noises or barks, it sparks my brain to do that whole reactive caretaker thing. Even petting something that appears to be a dog. I like to give comfort to your animal. You're like, hey, pet you, and scrub them behind the ears and interact with them a little bit. It sets off all those things in the brain that you're just like, it's real. So
Exactly. And once again, we like to suspend disbelief.
yeah.
One of the early anecdotes I had traveling with this Jenny, it was traveling on an airplane. And I would bring her on the airplane, and she'd be powered on, and people would want to know all about it. And I was sitting in my airplane seat talking to somebody about her and sitting there petting her. Every time she moves, she stimulates me to
Yeah.
want to pet her. And I know exactly what's happening inside her. I know what all the technology looks like. I know how the software has been programmed. I get it,
Yeah.
but it still works that magic on you. And once again, for seniors with dementia or folks like your sister, children
Hmm.
with autism, people who otherwise live alone and are at risk of social isolation, severe loneliness, just having a sense of presence
Yeah.
is a lot, but it has to be something they actually choose. And that's really where the science came in understanding what this had to turn out
Yeah.
to be.
And it's amazing it does that because I've seen your video of the skeletal, the hardware that's inside it, sans the fur, and all that stuff and the stuffing. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it just looks like a piece of steel sort of thing. But you can suspend. So, what are you guys trying to achieve at CES? I noticed there's some buy shares in Tombot. There's some investor tabs on your website. Tell us what's up with that.
Well, two things. First and foremost, uh, we're trying to expand our customer base. We're both a B2C, business to consumer, and B2B, business to business
Mm-hmm.
company. Our seniors with dementia, about 83% of them here in the United States live at home and are cared for by an unpaid family member, such
Mm-hmm.
as a spouse or a daughter or daughter-in-law, something like that. And so we have over 7,000 families that have pre-ordered the robot and are
Wow.
waiting for delivery. We'd love to have more of them. We're also a B2B company. So senior care living facilities, whether it's assisted living, memory care,
Mm-hmm.
rehabilitation homes, behavioral health institutes, and hospitals. We are designed to help treat these symptoms when seniors with dementia and others with severe mental health issues or physical health issues find their way into short-term and long-term acute care settings. And
Mm-hmm.
so we will be working with some of the largest here of these organizations here in the nation that do clinical studies to help demonstrate not only the basic science, but looking at specific outcomes like improved health experiences, reduced lengths of stay, and things of that sort. So CES, first and foremost, is really just attracting attention to Tombot, trying to build more awareness
Mm-hmm.
to what we're doing. And then also, as you mentioned, we're a hardware company. We're always raising money. We've raised over $10 million to date.
Mm-hmm.
Our current round is a $3.5 million round, and we're hoping to close this as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That funding will get us the remaining money that we need to get us across the finish line and get to cash flow positive,
Mm-hmm.
after which time we'll raise a much larger round of funding to scale sales, marketing, production, as
Mm-hmm.
well as begin research and development on our next products.
There you go. So I noticed that 8 days left on Tompon Invest now. Is that this is on Pick Me
Uh,
crowdfunding?
that is exactly right. So we have a two-tiered. We made a decision a few years ago, and this turned out to be an excellent decision, to encourage our customers to also be investors in the company.
Hmm.
They're the people that understand the need most and are the ones that stand the most benefit from the healthcare aspects of that. Should
Mm-hmm.
also have an opportunity to benefit from a financial
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. So This is our third round of crowdfunding we've done. We have close to 1,000 investors across the 3 campaigns.
Wow.
This particular campaign is 2-tier in terms of pricing. For people that participate before the end of this calendar year, so the end of December 31st, 2024, get a 15% discount off the share price. They're still welcome to participate after the first of the year, as long as we're still raising money, but it will be at a higher price. But we're also raising from accredited investors. It's a minimum of, through our crowdfunding campaign, it's a minimum of $249 investment. Accredited investors who wish to invest directly with us, it's a minimum of $25,000. So between the two fundraising strategies, we hope that to add up to $3.5 million. We're doing quite well. We have over $2.5 million of that already either hard committed or penciled in. And so we're hoping to close all of this up sometime in January.
There you go. And you guys have a leadership team that has a large prior exit in high tech. So you've done this before.
Exactly. We've not only have we have the experience running businesses, we have experience resolving disputes among ourselves. That's probably the bigger challenge. Like any marriage. But seriously, we're the leadership team that really occupies 3 different areas of necessary expertise. I come from the business side, product innovation, marketing, financial management. I have another partner who functions as our chief technology officer, and our third partner is our chief operating officer. And between the 3, we've got virtually all the bases covered. But we have more team members, and we've had as many as 21 people working on the robot at a given time between internal and external. And so it's a lot of tech, it's a lot to do, a huge diversity of expertise required to bring this to market, but we're getting close.
There you go. My sister, she's, confined to a wheelchair, so she can't move around. She can't pick things up. But this looks like it could easily sit on her lap.
Exactly. Let me, if I may, I'll put this young lady aside for a second, and let me show you what she looks like without her fur and cosmetics on. So this is what the inside of the robot looks like. This is actually our Alpha 1 robot. We'll be exhibiting our Alpha 2, so more evolved than this one at CES. But designed to lay comfortably on somebody's lap, weigh about 6 pounds. The underside of the robot's flat, so it lays comfortably across your legs or on a bed next to you or on a table or chair, somewhere where you can remain in close proximity to the puppy so you can interact with it constantly. There are 5 mechanical subsystems in the robot. First of all, the mouth opens and closes, but not just open and close, a lot of fine expressiveness as dogs are able to do. The eyes open and close, the eyebrows lift. This turns out to be very important for establishing and maintaining emotional attachment and part of our IP in the product. Ears move, the head and neck move, giving that great range of motion that dogs are known for, but also the fine expressiveness, being able to give you that little cute, I don't really understand what you're saying, but I'm trying really hard. And then, of course, the tail wags. And as you mentioned, covered with sensors, she can feel how and where she's being touched. She can tell the difference between a simple touch, a slow caress, vigorous pet, and being held. She responds to voice commands, a large list of voice commands. We come with a smartphone app that allows for a number of configuration settings or changes, including renaming the robot. And then once named, she'll only respond to that given name.
Oh, really? It responds to the name.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So she can feel herself being moved. And so if she's picked up, she knows not to squirm, risk being dropped. She has a light sensor. So if it's dark in a room, she knows not to bark. And a variety of other sensors to help her gather information from her environment, make an inference as to what that might mean, and then exhibit a behavior that's appropriate to that context. And so once again, this is a minimum viable product for a senior with dementia. And however, lots of people with other use needs have pre-ordered it.
I'm going to get one so that when I travel to hotels and I have my dog to cuddle with me.
I actually have an investor who's an ER doctor, and she called us up saying that, I used to have dogs, but my travel just doesn't allow for it between my
Yeah.
hours and my travel.
Oh
I
yeah.
need this because I'm terrified of flying,
Oh
but
wow.
I have to fly.
Wow.
And so one investor suggested that we have puppies and kiosks at airports. That people pick it up at one end of the flight and then drop it off at the other. Or
That's brilliant.
yeah,
You know,
so
I mean, you see these people losing it on flights nowadays, and maybe if they had a dog to kind of calm them down a little bit and maybe get off the meth or whatever they're on,
exactly,
you
and the
know.
airlines hate emotional support animals.
Oh yeah.
Real service dogs are important, and they support that.
Yeah.
But we've talked to a few unofficially, and they've said, "Please make emotional support animals go
Oh yeah.
away."
Yeah.
It's a burden for
Well, there's
us.
people bringing chickens and llamas, and
That's
it's
crazy.
basically like Eureka stand sort of airlines these days. So, and I don't bathe once a week anyway. So you don't want me on your airline. I bathe people. Don't write me. It's a joke. At least once every 4 days or something. I don't know. But no, having that dog, I would even, I get mental over air travel. I hate the TSA. I hate, all I want to do is get rich enough in life so where I never have to fly commercial ever again. That's the whole goal. I don't care about the money. I just don't want to have to fly commercial ever again. And just the lines and you just feel like you're on a Greyhound bus in the sky, mostly. And so having one of those on the flight would definitely help me not want to lose my freaking mind sometimes when
Yeah,
you're.
and yeah, we hope that we can do that very soon as well.
There you go. So investors can take a look at your website, see what they want to do there. People can come by the booth, check you guys out at the Big Eureka Park. Anything more we need to know about the product before we move along?
Well, I think that probably the thing is that we started with a Labrador Retriever puppy
Mhm.
uh, for fairly convenient reasons. One is it's been the most popular dog in
Oh
America
yeah.
for the last several decades. Actually, just got knocked off the top spot by the French Bulldog
What?
during COVID. And the
What?
reason being is that French bulldogs don't need to move. You take it out to go to the restroom a couple times a day, and it's just perfectly happy sitting around the rest of the time. Where labs have a lot of energy, they need to move.
Yeah, they do. They're
So the French bulldog's appropriate for an urban dweller, but they also come naturally in four different colors.
oh
The yellow, which you see here, they come chocolate, black, and there's a pale chocolate that's referred to as silver, but it's that bluish gray that you see in a Weimaraner. And that
mhm.
fur on the lab with the longer fur is really beautiful
Yeah.
on the lab puppy. So we'll be able to offer some options, but
hmm
we'll come out in the future with other breeds. And at some point, not too soon, we'll start working on a cat.
Oh, there you go. People love cats too. I don't know why, but no, people love cats.
It, the, the,
Uh,
the data was about 70-30. About 70%
really?
of those that we surveyed either strongly preferred a dog or were indifferent, and then
hmm
30% strongly preferred a cat. So
Yeah.
just following the numbers, we began with a puppy. Cats are, from a technical standpoint, cats will be challenging for us too because they have unique animation
Yeah.
capabilities that we're happy to start with something that's a little bit more straightforward. But but if we want to serve as many people as possible, we need to offer both.
There you go. Well, I think it's a great product. I think it's great. I mean, it really is. My sister, suffers from so much loneliness. You see the people in the care centers; they suffer from loneliness. There's, she's suffering dementia, so she's not always there. But just having a puppy you could cuddle with or sit in your lap. And I have huskies, so they blow coat twice a year. Pretty much the whole dog worth of fur. So I mean, the cleanup's a nightmare, and you can't have that in care centers and stuff, and just her having something to do would be so great. So, Tom, I think it's a wonderful product. Give us a final pitch out as we go out. Tell people where they can go on the .coms and all that good stuff.
Oh, thank you, Chris, for having me again. Real pleasure to be on your show. You can reach us at tombot.com. And if you happen to be in Las Vegas in January and you're going to come to the CES show, please do come visit us at the Venetian. We'll be in Eureka Park at booth number 62034. And of course, we're available across all their typical media channels at Tombot or Tombot Robotics. And please reach out and say hi. We love hearing from you and love to hear your ideas about how to make the product better.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you, and thanks for helping out dementia patients and all those people in care centers. I mean, they're so lonely, and so being able to have something like this can, and I think it will help their brains. You know, help stimulate their brains. I mean, and we talk a lot on the show with brain scientists and psychologists and stuff. And stimulating that brain and different things that you can do can help enhance the quality of life and longevity. And sometimes it can kind of help bring them back a little bit. So yeah, all the more power to you. So thank you very much, Tom, for coming on the show. Be sure to check them out. You can go to where they'll be at Eureka Park. I had their dealio up. Do you remember the booth number off the top of your head? I think we gave it at the beginning of the show.
62034.
There you go. Check them out. Eureka Park down there in the basement of the Venetian.
Yeah, if you can't remember that, we're grouped in Eureka Park with the digital health group. So just and we're prominently located. So if you venture by there, you won't be able to miss us.
Just listen for the barks. There you go. Well, thank you very much, Tom. Thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one, the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. If you get a chance, watch the video. It's freaking me out. It's totally uncanny valley. I believe this dog is real because I've been around my dog so much, and it's just bark and its movement and its eyes. You're just like, hey, it's real. I might, like I said, I might get one for when I travel. That way I don't go insane. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Watch for our continuing coverage of booths and vendors that are showing at CES, and watch for Gary Shapiro do his annual appearance on the show. I think it's obligated to him by now, but he'll have his new book out as well. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.